So I'm Rachelle Friedman. I am an EMDR therapist and a licensed clinical social worker in Arizona. And I use EMDR therapy to work with my population of disabled folks. And I am also a disabled person. So just some of the things, that we're going to be going over today. So mental health and disability, internal and external ableism, setting boundaries, um, how to use grief as a guide, and then how do we learn to meet our needs. So the CDC claims that that disabled folks are reporting experiencing emotional distress 5 times as often as able-bodied people. This is important for many different reasons. And it's really, we can look at the systems and see where mental health challenges may arise. It's really difficult to obtain appropriate medical care. It's really difficult to obtain an accurate diagnosis for a lot of these things. It's also really challenging to navigate the medical system. And then we add on the stigma of being disabled folks and how we just need to push through a lot of the time. So we live in a lot of systemic ableism, and that increases the challenges that people have with their mental health. And so internal ableism is when we judge ourselves. And so we can pick this up in many ways where we overhear things all the time, like you just need to push through, or, just get it together, get a good night of sleep, and then you'll be fine. And it's that veiled ableism, and it's not even veiled when it's like that, but it's that ableism that also prompts us as we grow up and as we experience the world around us to judge ourselves and to ask ourselves, why can't I just push through? Why can't I just get over this? Why can't I just suck it up? And then there's the external ableism where somebody says to you, I don't know why you can't just push through, or get a good night of sleep and you'll be fine. Or if you go to a yoga class, I think that would be really helpful for you and you might get more energy. And that's not the case a lot of the time. Is a yoga class a good thing to do? For most of us, it may be. However, it's not going to be world changing. It's not going to take away disability. And that's the thing that a lot of people miss, is that when you're hitting your wall, then you're hitting your wall. And then we just include shame and blame into, why can't I do this? And so that affects disabled folks as well. Setting boundaries is an incredibly important part of being disabled, because we want to be able to filter through all of that ableism internally and externally. And one of the ways that we decrease the ableism around us is by setting boundaries. For example, I have a lot of clients who feel a lot of shame around using a shower chair. And I encourage them to notice that shame and where that shame comes from, because it's important to meet our needs. And if we're judging ourselves for doing something as simple as using a shower chair, then where else are we also shaming and blaming ourselves? So we can notice that, step in with ourselves and say, okay, I'm going to use a shower chair. I'm just going to, because I want to have energy after I take a shower. And that's an internal boundary. And an external boundary may be, you know what, I know that you've offered me water and cayenne pepper, and that's just not going to work for me. I appreciate the thought, but no, thank you. So setting boundaries can really help us sort through ableism and also create an environment for ourselves that has minimal levels of ableism. So I work from the grief model with disability, which really gives a guide and allows the person to give themselves permission to feel their emotions. So I go over with clients all the time. You're allowed to feel anger. You're allowed to feel sadness. You're allowed to feel fear. Those are all part of grief. And if we allow ourselves to be in those emotions and process through, then we're able to find acceptance. And I notice for a lot of people, there's this really big arc the first time they follow the grief model. And then afterwards, once they reach acceptance that first time, yes, they're going to flare up. Yes, people are going to go back into sadness and anger and fear, but people are going to know their way back to acceptance a lot quicker after the first time they reach it. And that's just something that I've noticed in my practice. So I always go back to boundaries because boundaries are our way of teaching others how we want to be treated. And it is okay to set a boundary around a lot of different things. I know COVID has been a huge disability issue. Um, if somebody feels like they don't want to be around somebody who isn't vaccinated or something like that, they have a right to say that. They have a right to set that boundary. They have a right to ask that somebody wear a mask in their presence. That's also another boundary that they can set. And I want to empower my clients to set the boundaries that they need to set in order for them to feel comfortable and shift and move through ableism and grief. So you can reach me at my email address. My website is brainysocialworker.com. And my Instagram handle is brainysocialworker. So I would love for you to reach out um, and start a dialogue with me. Thank you.